YouTube is turning 16 this year, and in honor of the Sweet 16 and being around for such a long time now, we're going to be talking about the goods, the bads, and the ugly of YouTube on episode 90 of the podcast. Cue the music. Welcome, everyone, to the Entertainment Buffet podcast. I am one of your hosts, Brandon Prosek. Jessica Kwazz is still not with us. She's working on some things, but in the interim, we have another great guest with us, a special guest, Lauren Reznik. How you doing, Lauren?
Hi, I'm great. How are you, Brandon?
Oh, as good as we can be with 2020 coming to a close as we're recording this. Hopefully, 2021 is much better.
I mean, I don't want to know what it's like if it's not,
Right. If not, I'm looking forward to 2022. But so we're going to be talking about YouTube. We're both longtime YouTubers and uploaders. I've been doing it since like 2009-ish. We'll be talking all about the highs, the lows, different things we've tried and things like that. But before we get started, Lauren, why don't you tell the audience a little bit about yourself?
Yes. So like Brandon said, my name's Lauren, and I am a comedian, actress, and a YouTuber. I have a channel. It's called Lolo's World. I've had it since 2013. And throughout the years, it has been many different things. It's been a music channel, it's been a makeup channel, it's been a vlog channel. So I'm really excited to be here today, and I'm really excited to chat about YouTube.
For sure. Yeah. I feel like most people I meet, whether it's in YouTubing or comedy, we all wear many hats. We're trying to get out there. Yeah. And acting as well that you do. That's kind of what I feel like you have to be nowadays when it comes to performing or creating stories in some way. Is you usually can't just do one thing. You have to have a presence, maybe on YouTube, maybe on Instagram. If you do stuff live, you got to be everywhere. And
definitely.
The one thing that it's really crazy that YouTube is only 16, yet it's like, oh, wow, well, I'm someone that I'm, almost 29 that's been around for about half of my life.
Yeah, definitely. I'm just like, if YouTube is 16, then how old am I?
For sure. Do you remember what year it was when you uploaded your first YouTube video?
I feel like there were those years where like people were just putting random clips up of like, like my day in class. Like they were vlogs before vlogs were a thing.
Yeah.
But like my first like official, like as with the intent of like being a vlogger, was probably in 2013.
Gotcha. Yeah. So even it's getting closer to 10 years already. Like,
Yeah.
But before we get too deep into YouTube, I always like to ask people, what are some things, especially in lockdowns now, a lot of people are watching stuff, whether it's TikTok or movies, that they're shows that they're binging, or YouTube. What are some things that you've been watching just lately that you can't get off your screen?
Oh man. So many things. I think there's nothing left on Netflix that I haven't discovered. And I actually moved on to Amazon. I'm very much someone who still lives in the 90s. So I recently found the show Mad About You. Have you heard of that show with Helen Hunt?
I remember it from back in the day. I was not like super versed on that one, but my parents were a fan of, Helen Hunt and Paul Reiser. So that's on Amazon that you've been checking that out?
Yeah, and apparently they have a revival. I'm watching it from the beginning, but apparently they just recently did a revival. So when I get to those episodes, I'm excited to see. Paul Reiser actually went to the same college that I went to. Shout out Binghamton University. And so I'm like a huge fan. So I'm just kind of reliving that right now.
Nice. I think that's one thing a lot of people have been doing is, not just enjoying the new things coming out, but, diving into the old stuff. One thing that I've been diving into, and it's going to be a future episode here on the podcast, is I'm watching all of the Muppet movies in order.
Oh, wow. Oh, my
Which is,
gosh.
yeah, it's crazy. The first one came out in 1979, and yeah, the last one was only a handful of years ago. So it's crazy to just see the Muppets go from, like where cameras were in the late 70s to, now getting to stuff that was within the last 10 years. It's yeah, stuff that, like, we'll do a deep. We're going to be doing a panel episode of the podcast where I go real deep into that, how it changed over the years, the different places they've gone. But yeah, it's certainly a time where there's not as much new stuff dropping, so it feels nice to dive into stuff that, maybe, like you said, like we grew up with in the 80s or 90s.
Definitely. Have you heard on YouTube of a channel called Defunct Land?
I have not.
I recently found it. I think you would like it. They go over the entire history of the Muppets. So I'll
Nice.
send you the link to that after.
Please do. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll have to check that out for sure. But yeah, you mentioned something a little bit ago when you were first bringing up YouTube, is like, yeah, it feels like everyone used to just kind of post, like, I don't know, silly videos, cat videos or little vlogs. Everyone was just posting something. But it's really strange to think where it grew to, because a lot of people don't know this, but like after Google, it's like the second most used search engine. It's everyone is either Googling or YouTubing, which obviously YouTube is owned by Google. So it's definitely being around in the zeitgeist so much that YouTube is just a verb. It's like, YouTube it. I'm sure
Definitely.
I'm sure there's a YouTube tutorial on it. Like, it's just this
Right.
unprecedented thing that even though there are plenty of other sites that have videos like it, like I know some people were into Daily Motion, but like YouTube has just been like the place that started with just the most ridiculous videos that were not high definition at all. Quality was not great in the, like, mid to late 2000s when I came across it. Yeah, it's just crazy to see where it's become. And now I think that, with Instagram stories, and like Vine had a little run, and TikTok, there are so many other places to just find other forms of video content, but like YouTube it's not going anywhere.
Definitely not. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Um, it's crazy, really.
Yeah. So I I know a lot of people have kind of had a long journey with it. You doing it almost 10 years now, like we were talking about. I'd love to, talk about where you kind of started. You mentioned a vlog. Where you started with YouTube, like maybe with your channel, what you're doing now, or kind of different phases you've gone through. Like, where did it start?
Oh, yeah. Okay. Well, it started my senior year of college, which is throwing it back to 2012, 2013. And my last semester, I had a series of mental breakdowns. I think that that's something that mental health is definitely something that's like very tried and true to me. And since 2013, I've learned a lot of things, but back then I just had all of these panic attacks that I didn't know what they were, and ended up just locking myself in my bedroom or my dorm room and watching YouTube videos and finding all these channels. And I think that was right when it started to be a thing where you can make like a lot of money off of ads. And it's something that I wanted to do, not even for like the fame, the money, anything like that. I felt this like connection in this really dark time in my life where YouTubers are more attainable than celebrities. Like, you know, you can obsess over a celebrity, but they're not really someone that you know on a personal level. It's more superficial. And I was sitting in my room just kind of relating to all of these people, and they made me feel like I was one of their friends and I could do what they're doing. And it just kind of sparked something in my head. I watched a video by Jaclyn Hill, which, you know, she's, I guess, like, there's people with a lot of opinions on her, but like now, but back then she was just this like anxious girl in her apartment playing with makeup. And I loved that. And so I wanted to do that. And so I did. I started my channel as a makeup channel. And I actually had 3 channels.
I feel like everyone has had multiple channels. Don't you worry. Like,
Yeah.
anyone who says they've had just one, it's just like, let me know when you get the like the third or fourth.
Right. Right. And I don't even know why that is. I guess, like, with the algorithm, it didn't make sense to have multiple channels anymore. But I guess in the beginning, it was like people wanted to separate the different things that they were into by like channel. It's kind of crazy how things evolved. But yeah, I had one channel where I was uploading music videos that I've since deleted. I had another channel that was my vlog channel that is still up, but I actually put my vlogs on the same channel that I put everything else on. And then I had the same channel that I have now that I think the URL is still Makeup by Lolo1, but I changed the channel name to to Lolo's World because I don't want it to be just a makeup channel anymore. So that's where I upload all of my content right now. There's a little splatter of everything on there. And yeah, I don't know. It's been a trip.
Yeah. Well, one thing you touched on that I think was so true, especially for, myself personally, when I first was getting into YouTube as well, was it felt attainable, and it felt, like you said, like I saw people that were similar aged, with similar interests doing it. And one channel that I've talked about on this podcast, and I've actually had kind of like the 2 co-founding members of their channel as guests over the years, and that was a channel called Evil Iguana Productions, where they made movie trailer spoofs, and they just did like comedy mockumentary web shows and sketches and such. And the reason why like it hit me so hard was like I grew up in suburbs of Chicago, about an hour west, and where they were filming, I'm like, hey, that's Chicago. Hey, that's, I think a place I've been to. And like they were also from a different suburb of Chicago, and they were only like, I think a few years older than me, a handful of years older. Like they were in the same general age range. And I was like, oh, like, and they're getting millions of views, like they're getting a following, and now like they have fans, and like that's crazy. And I didn't necessarily start doing it to get fans, but it made me realize that it's like, well, I believe I have some like comedic ideas, some things to say. So maybe if I get a group of people and start making videos, like maybe I can start actually getting people to watch things and grow a little following to where hopefully, that'll help give feedback and can just entertain people. I also went through kind of like different phases of different channels where like maybe with this group of friends, we had a channel, and then like this group, go to college, and then like we have this channel over here. It kind of more fell over the place before like middle of college when, I created Entertainment Buffet and was like, well, this is where me and these people who want to start making content are going to put these sketches. And it's just like continued to evolve over the years. But yeah, that the beginning, it was all about like, hey, I think I have some funny ideas. I want to get into writing and producing. Well, here's a place that I could just throw stuff for free. And if like it takes off, maybe I can make money from it, which seemed insane because some people that make money from it like don't even mean to. They just kind of throw it on there for people to see, and then they get an audience and a following.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like YouTube is the type of thing that used to happen so organically. And I just want to touch on what you said about how you were making channels with like different groups of friends. I think that's so awesome. I think I was the total opposite, where like I did this to meet friends because the friends that I had were not interested. Like they probably watched like the occasional YouTube video that was like viral, but like everything else was just dumb. And it wasn't, you know, their idea of what they wanted to do. And up until meeting you, like up until now, like I haven't really fraternized with any other YouTubers, which this was like the whole plan, was like I wanted to make friends, because it really did look like, you know, everyone on YouTube was like the best of friends, which I don't know if that's necessarily like what the case was, but yeah, it made me feel like a sense of like belonging, and that's kind of what I was searching for. So I think that's awesome that you and your friends were able to collaborate on things from like the earliest part of your YouTube career.
Yeah, and it definitely morphed around because, you know, one thing that I've kind of ranted or like told people about it who like maybe haven't endured putting things on YouTube for so long is that it can be very, it can burn you out, you know,
Mm-hmm.
whether you do have a following or not. That's the thing, is like, I know, and I've seen various YouTubers who have been doing it for the last 10 years or so who have walked away because they have just felt burnt out and they're moving on to different things in their lives. And they're like, you know, this is a big undertaking that has taken up a huge part of my life and I'm grateful for it, but I got to move on. And, I think that's a great thing to do when you have an audience and you've had like opportunities. But then when you have channels that haven't necessarily taken off, it's almost like a, you know, people say in comedy, that like when you get a laugh on stage, it's kind of like a drug. And I feel like YouTube's the same thing, where like maybe this video gets some more views and maybe, you know, you think, oh, well, if I do this, it'll be a little bit better. And then like you just keep pushing and you're like chasing getting an audience, having that one video go viral. And I think that it can burn people out both when you have an audience and when you don't. And I've had
Yes.
various friends who they were interested in for a little bit, and then after we didn't gain any followers and people weren't really watching, they're like, well, why are we doing this? And you know, I was someone that like, even though I grew frustrated myself that things weren't being watched, I still use it as a learning experience. It's like, all right, well, this one we learned this, or this one we learned this. But you know, some people just want to move on. And the funny thing is, uh, I did YouTube very consistently with Entertainment Buffet and other channels from 2009 until 2016, 2017. I was like, you know what? I think I'm gonna stop making this one of my main focuses. I got working onto my first play production. I produced a play that I wrote, and then doing more stand-up. And so I was like, the last few years, getting really addicted to live audience reaction. And ironically, soon as I step away from YouTube is when an old video randomly blows up for kind of a hilarious reason, which I'm
Isn't
not
that how
sure
it
if
goes?
right.
Yeah.
And then like lockdowns happen and live shows stop like in person, and they move to Zoom. And it's almost like YouTube was just like, hey, you know how you like walked away, we're like, we're gonna rope you back in because like we had an old video of yours blow up, and like now Entertainment Buffet has like some subscribers. It's like, oh, okay, well, just when I think I'm out, they pull me back in.
That's awesome though. Yeah, that's I was actually going to ask about this channel. I think that we spoke a little bit when we were messaging about this, but I think I saw you in a Facebook group post about needing people for like a collaborative channel, and I had messaged you and you know, ended up submitting a video, and I just thought it was the coolest idea. And then when I was like, the first thing that I do when I go on anyone's channel, I feel like as someone that's been on YouTube for so long, like the first thing that I do whenever I discover anyone is I go to their videos and I click the sort button and I go to their oldest video and I have to like see how long they've been on,
Oh
what kind
boy.
of what their thumbnails looked like 10 years ago. So I saw, I'm like, wow, like, okay, so this looks like it's just like kind of one person. And then it kind of evolved into like different, it looked like it was mostly like podcasts. I saw a few like skits, like a lot of different things on there. And I was like, oh, okay. Like at first I'm like, oh man, like who is this person like just trying to like take advantage of a pandemic and like start something? Then I'm like, oh no, like he's been on here for a while. Like maybe I should consider this.
Yeah, Entertainment Buffet has taken many forms over the years, especially like the YouTube, like you said, where you juggled going from vlogs to music videos, makeup videos, and such. It's like I've kind of with Entertainment Buffet, both alone and with various people, jumped around as well. So I think that's a very normal thing that people do, is like you try to find like what works. And yeah, during college especially, I went to Columbia College in Chicago, where I was surrounded by actors and other filmmakers. I was a film major, and so getting a crew and a cast together to make sketches or to make web shows was a little easier. And then as you get older and you kind of start needing a budget to pay people, is a little harder. Those became a little bit more scarce. And then that's where I was like, you know what, I love giving my opinions on movies and shows. And so I did the So I Saw show, where I started reviewing things. Then after a while I was like, you know what, I think I'm just doing these to do them. And, I kind of got burnt out on that. And then eventually starting the podcast, and then that kind of morphing to things over the years. It's a channel that has kind of been many things over the years, but it was always kind of like a place that I could throw content. And my main thing that I always wanted to do was I wanted to work with different people. I wanted to work with other actors and other writers and creators. And, sometimes it's been many people, sometimes it's been a few. It's morphed over the years. And then over the last couple of years, it eventually turned into an actual production company on the side. And then, like I said, we produced some plays and we produced some live comedy shows until COVID hit. And then it made sense to like, well, all of a sudden we were given the opportunity for ads. And so we looked at it as a way to try to share that with people, because it's not that, I guess, it's not that like I don't think I'll ever try Zoom things, but I was like, here's this thing, YouTube, that's been around for so long, that I've been on and off with. And I see other people doing YouTube videos. I see other people posting videos on Instagram and Facebook. It's like, well, maybe instead of competing, like, let's share, the fact that
Definitely.
we have a random following. That came for a silly reason, for our one pizza delivery sketch we made years ago. And yeah, and then that's where I don't know how much you've learned about like ads and analytics, or like if you look on your channels, like analytics that YouTube gives you, but it's like I've fallen down some rabbit holes learning about all the YouTube logistics.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't even know. I do check my analytics from time to time. Um, the thing is like you said, that whole like burnout thing, like I start getting really obsessive, and then I'm like, oh, well, I have to post more on Instagram to like, advertise for my video, and I have to do this and that. And then also it came to a point where the content that I liked making was not the content that people liked to watch. And I didn't really like, I do this more as a hobby and for release more than anything. And I do this so that people can know the authentic me. And, like I said, like friendships can flourish, stuff like that. So to put on almost like a facade and only put certain content because it does well, like that was more emotionally draining to me than to just see like the down arrows all over my analytics. So I just kind of made a choice probably like 2 or 3 years ago where I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to force myself to post more than I want to post. And I'm not going to force myself to post the content that I don't enjoy making. And that's kind of where I'm at right now with my channel.
Yeah, I mean, I think you hit a good point there where it's like sometimes because you're almost chasing to get more views and more attention that like you're like, well, I don't even really want to do these videos anymore, or at least I don't want to do videos on this. I like the whole point is like to have fun and have a creative outlet. But that's where you can maybe start watching YouTube videos to learn what works for other channels. And then you're like, well, I kind of agree with that, want to do that. And then, it's just so interesting because I think that YouTube is such a great place for people to have the ability to be seen and found in like the most random content can get a following and get an audience and get fans and all these things that they never would have gotten that like they may never be in a movie or on a TV show or whatever and get like a fan base.
Definitely. Oh my gosh. The some of the people that go viral, I mean, we should like play a game where we just like pick a bunch of random people out of a hat and like guess what they would be doing now if their videos didn't do well.
Right? Yeah, they just I think much like how like memes get started, it's like the most random thing can happen. And I'll say so it wasn't on Entertainment Buffet channel, in Entertainment Buffet's channel, but a different group of friends, we had a channel in high school. It was like end of high school, before I went to college. We had one video that like kind of blew up a little bit that got like 50 some thousand views. It could be more by now, but at the time, it was a very random reason why it blew up. Was we made a movie trailer spoof, basically if the old nursery rhyme Jack and Jill was made into like a thriller horror movie, that like a detective is trying to fill out why Jack and Jill fell down the hill. And it's like a silly little thing, clearly made by high schoolers with not the best cameras. And it's just called Jack and Jill movie trailer. And then 2 years later, Adam Sandler makes a movie called Jack and Jill, and people are searching for that
Ah,
trailer and they're finding ours. And so it just gets all these views because people are looking for it. They're like, this isn't the Adam Sandler thing. I was like, look at this, was made 2 years ago. Like, do you
that's awesome though.
it was so random, but like that's all that could really happen on YouTube is people can do purposeful clickbaity stuff. You could upload something and it not be found for years. It's can be utterly random, even though you can do your very best to research and try to build a strategy, and like you want to build a brand or a voice or whatever it may be, and then it can just be something, a total fluke, and then now you have 1 million views. It's like, oh what? So you've mentioned that your channel's kind of gone through different phases. um when you would do those phases, or like when you would move from like maybe one thing to another, um were you getting like burnt out about those things, or you just were so interested in the new things? Or like talk to me about like going through the different phases, because like I feel like every channel, like myself, has had this where we maybe have this niche and then this niche and we kind of jump around.
Yeah. Um, you know, I really wanted to be that person that made videos in high school. And I was a theater kid, and I feel like, maybe my friends would have gone for it, but I never really thought to do it until college. And then I never had the balls to do it until after college. So I just kind of did it, just as like an emotional thing at first. And then I started getting into it and getting obsessive. And I realized the beauty content was really, I mean, like 2014, 15, 16, that were like the years for beauty content. And
Yep.
then everything got like a little bit too dramatic and like spill the tea ish, you know? And I kind of took a step back. But yeah, it was very, very trendy and it was everywhere and it became so oversaturated. And I don't think that I was confident enough in my abilities. I'm a licensed esthetician, but I'm not a makeup artist. So I wasn't like people, I mean, you see these men and women doing these gorgeous looks or like these like special effects things that look so real. It's crazy. Like there's so much talent. And I just kind of felt like a fraud. First of all, I was just like, who am I to be doing this? But also, I mean, like we're talking about, just because things were so oversaturated, I'm just like, no one's ever going to find my channel. But it was doing well for a while and then it wasn't. And then I kind of stopped for a little bit. I got burnt out. And then a friend had told me, it was actually someone that I was dating at the time. He's like, you don't make YouTube videos anymore. You seemed really happy when you're doing that. Like, why don't you do that again? And I thought to myself, like, I guess so. Like, let me start doing it again. And I've been doing it ever since then. But when I went back, I was pretty much just like, I'm not just going to make the content that, I think will do well. Also, I'm just not a dramatic person. I feel like if I was more like that, maybe I could get more views on my videos. But I'm kind of introverted and, I've reached out to some people to do like different collaborative things in the past that like never came to fruition. So because I just didn't trust people, I guess, especially in the beauty community. So I don't know. It's been a kind of a ride, but I feel like now that I'm getting into the comedy realm, people are so much, dare I say, like open, nicer, like welcoming, like ready, like creative. Not to talk bad about anyone like in the beauty community. Like I said, like, I didn't really associate with many other people in there, but I just feel like, like I've only been in the comedy realm with my videos, with, stand-up comedy, with whatever, for a short time. And since then I've made so many connections and people have been so kind and so nice and so informative. So I have to say, like, I think where I'm going, like whether my channel grows or not, like I feel like I'm in a good space. So
Nice. Yeah. And you brought up a key thing, and because I do remember that because the beauty craze like around 2014, 2015-ish, because I was dating someone at the time that all of a sudden was talking about like these different channels she was watching for makeup content, and then like I had various friends talk about maybe they wanted to do makeup content. And as someone who mainly used YouTube at the time for like comedy or movie trailers or like entertainment pop culture related things, I never, and obviously someone who doesn't wear makeup, I was like, oh, okay, there's like an audience for this. And then like I started hearing about it from so many people, and I was like, oh, this is an entire realm that I didn't know about this. And it only makes sense that, like you said, because it became so trendy that probably everyone decided to put together a channel. And whether some were good or not, it's just like it's going to be so difficult to find those channels. And I feel like the same thing happened and still happens with sketch comedy on YouTube or web shows, like around like the early I'd say the late 2000s to like early 2010s, and ever since then, like so many people are doing web shows, and like usually
yeah.
just whether it's comedy or dramas or whatever it may be, like usually comedy, it becomes so oversaturated that it's like, man, how many people do I know that have a web show?
Right.
It's like everyone has tried a web show, or I know at least a handful of people that, have a makeup thing, or people that even like what I did, like, oh, I know someone else that reviews movies. And it's just everyone, I feel like you went rushing to YouTube because, you know, the idea that either they could make money, they could be famous, it could be a creative outlet for them. And then well, it's like, oh, well, we all had that idea. And now we're all here, but now we're not all watching each other's things because like we're all making the things. It's
Right,
uh
right. And like, remember when being an influencer was like a bad thing, or even before the word influencer existed, you know?
right. Yeah, that was never really, it was just like a, you know, maybe a YouTube personality or like a YouTube or a web celebrity, you know, like all these different terms. But then all of a sudden, yeah, started hearing like influencer. And then, yeah, people, it's like, oh, they're famous from Instagram. I'm like, wait, what? They're famous just from Instagram?
I don't know how they do that. I need to figure that out, because to get thousands of dollars for one picture, that
Yeah.
sounds like a career that I would like to learn to navigate.
Yeah. So you also mentioned that you did like vlog and music video related things. You want to talk about like what it was like in those realms versus, you know, your time doing makeup videos?
Yeah, I don't think that people care about my life as much as I do, but I'm learning to accept the fact that I'm a narcissist. Also, I like to have something, this is gonna get like kind of morbid, but my biological father actually passed away when I was young. I was 2 years old, and I think to myself, I'm just like, if only YouTube was a thing and he had a channel and there were like all of these videos. Like, I want something that, I mean obviously I hope that I'm alive to see my children grow up, but like I want something that they can watch and like just like learn who I am. So I kind of make it now with like that intent. I don't know, ever since I turned 30, that's just where my mind is. But yeah, I kind of make it with that intent, like, and it's helped me to relax and really show my personality more, I think.
I did a little bit of vlogging within the last year or so. I decided to kind of do a bit of an experiment on the
Mm.
channel where I wanted to see if I uploaded a video every day, you know, like would that help or hurt my numbers? And at first I was like, I bought a writing prompt book that said 300 more writing prompts. And I'm like, well, I'll just do one prompt a day for 300 days. And then when I was getting close to 100, I was like, I'm not going to do this for 300 days.
Yeah.
Doing 100 videos, I was like, I think that's a good place to stop. And then I'll look at the experiment. But, you know, some of the writing prompts would ask very personal questions, and I'm like, do I want to like put this on YouTube? And I'm like, yeah, why not? You know, like it's
Yeah.
I perform stand-up comedy. Like I don't think I'm saying anything that I'm necessarily going to be mad at myself later for saying. And if I do, like, well, I can take it down, you know.
Right.
But it's something that I've seen on certain channels. Like I you know, I recently came across, it was actually a person who was a meme. And then they grew a YouTube channel and then did that for years, like the last like 10 years or something. And then, like I talked about earlier, they got kind of burnt out and they're like, you know what? I need to step away from my mental health. And they got very personal. And like, I was like sitting there, like, on my break at work, like nearly crying. I'm like, oh my gosh, you know, because she's just like bearing her soul. And it's like
Yeah.
some people, you know, I think can relate to that kind of content. And that's why they either pursue it or they do it themselves because, you know, it is relatable.
It definitely is. I think that almost everyone I follow, with the exception of maybe a few, I've had some sort of connection with. Like, I can tell you something that I have in common with them, and that's kind of what I look for when I'm looking for content to watch. And like, that's the mindset of what I think other people are looking for when they're looking for content. So that's kind of why I feel like it's just really important to be like your true authentic self as much as possible, and just get, because there's something for someone like out there, like for everyone, you know. There's like, there's so much different type of content, and there's so many different types of people that I feel like it's impossible to not be able to find anything or anyone that you connect with on YouTube.
Yeah, for sure. And um I think, like you said, there are just so, like, there's every realm of everything that you can find on YouTube. And it's something that, the way I look at it, especially like we were talking about like vlogs and things, I have gone back sometimes and removed older videos, but sometimes, what I think about, with social media, whether it's Facebook or Instagram or YouTube, is it's like almost like our generation's photo albums, our
Yeah.
generation's VHS tapes. I remember my mom or dad throwing on like old family videos from like when me and my brother were, you know, 5 years old, or like babies. And it's like, that's not quite like a thing anymore. Like, people post that on social media, and then they can go back and look, you know like, oh, look, my baby nephew, like, look, he walked for the first time and we posted it. Or like, here's this stupid sketch that I made in college, and now it's, however many years later, it's they're like time capsules. And so
They are.
I think that's why I often find myself keeping things on YouTube in various forms, because I highly doubt that I'm going to be like some famous person that they're going to like searching through YouTube, be like, oh my God, did you see this thing he posted in 2010? Uh, and so it's like, you know what? Me, or people that know me may be the only ones watching these. And like, I kind of like that I can find, like, oh my gosh, look how young I was.
Yeah.
How young
Yeah.
my friends were.
Do you do that? Do you go through old videos and just kind of watch?
Yeah, I've done that every now and then. I may have like a nostalgia thing where I think about, college, or think about old projects, or like one I haven't thought about in years, and like, oh yeah, that. And just going back and like watching, just thinking about, the experience it was filming these various things, whether they were web shows, or sketches, or like even old stand-up videos that like maybe aren't necessarily public, but I threw on a YouTube and have it like unlisted. I often use like things like that, like, as, yeah, like a photo album or like a video album, where I could just like go back and look at things from, at this point, 10, 15 years ago.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah, and I do like it's so more attainable than looking through a photo album. So I mean, I think things have definitely gotten more digital, like with photos and everything everywhere in general, but um it is nice. I definitely do that too from time to time. I'll like look back and like see like my college graduation or like something like that. And it is nice and like reassuring to see that like I have that there.
Yeah, for sure. So we've kind of talked about, as far as like creating stuff, the various like, ebbs and flows that we've had, the type of content. But one thing that's has definitely changed for myself, and I'm sure it has for many people, is like my viewing habits on YouTube.
Mhm.
So I'd love to hear about, like, what did you used to go to YouTube for? And then like over the years, like sort of like when like the maybe the beauty phase happened, things like that. What were like different channels or just types of things you noticed yourself watching specifically on YouTube versus other places?
Yeah, it's actually crazy. So I was one of the last people in my school to have a computer. It was 2000, I'm not going to say the year. I was like 12, 13 years old though. And during a PTA conference, like one of my teachers actually told my dad, like, "Hey, I think you need to get a computer because I've been assigning a lot of homework on the computer." My dad's really old fashioned, so he was against it for like the longest time. So even once I got a computer, YouTube wasn't super attainable to me for a really long time. It was actually something that would have to like sneak over to my best friend's house and use her computer, and that's where I made my MySpace, like all of that.
Oh boy, the
Um,
MySpace days.
the MySpace days. Oh man, I wish I could still access my MySpace account. There's probably so much great quality cringe-worthy content on there. Uh, but we would watch, some like viral things. I feel like there were a few channels like as I went through high school, so like Kingsley, Jenna Marble, Shane Dawson, that type of thing, where like I was just kind of subscribed to, maybe like 4 or 5 channels. And then once I really started getting into it, once I had a laptop and I was away at college, it just became this like everyday thing where I had like, I don't even know how many people I was subscribed to, but let's say like 25, 30 plus people. And I
Hmm.
would make a point to watch like all of their videos like
Wow.
every single day. Like I was a devoted viewer. And I think that's what happened with this platform, is that a lot of fans became content creators. Yeah, I mean, that's what I did. I became a content creator. And then I did realize, like, as I was kind of producing my own content, I was either slightly less interested in other people's content, or I didn't have as much time to watch other people's content.
Sure.
Um,
So I
yeah,
heard a few people you mentioned. You mentioned Jenna Marbles. I remember that one from back in the day.
yeah.
Um, what were a lot of these comedy or vlog style channels, or what were the like different genres and things like that?
Yeah, so definitely comedy. Definitely for like entertainment, comedy, that type of thing. And it's the type of thing that we would like quote like lines from the videos, like, with your friends and stuff like that.
Mhm.
Um, and then I think like the when I was like subscribed to like 30 plus people, that was like when I got into the beauty thing. Like the beauty thing just sucks you in. You're just like, so that's kind of, so it was kind of comedy. And then it kind of morphed into beauty. And now I feel like it's like a mixed bag. Um, but I feel like it's veering a little bit more towards comedy again, only because, or even like lifestyle. I feel like lifestyle wasn't a thing like when YouTube first started,
Mhm.
And I feel like lifestyle is just like a whole separate thing from beauty. And um, it's just very, I mean, lifestyle vlog, that type of thing is
Yeah.
just the type of thing where like it kind of brings you back a little bit towards like the older days of YouTube, which I like, where it's like people like talking to a camera, because I feel like a lot of the beauty content has become very orchestrated, where, I mean, most people have like lights, camera, mics, all that. I mean, I'm talking with a ring light staring in my face, but like it's just like vlogs, like the lighting doesn't have to be perfect, like, the camera doesn't have to be perfect. Like most people record it on their phones nowadays. So I feel like that's kind of the thing that I'm kind of watching the most.
Hmm.
Um, and I've also, instead of like, if I'm subscribed to someone, I don't watch all of their content. I just watch the titles that are attractive to me. Whereas before I was like, well, if I'm a devoted fan, I have to watch all of their content and I have to give them the AdSense and all of that.
Ah.
So I watch the ad for people I like. I would watch the ad the full way through, all of that.
Wow, devoted fan. Yeah, no, it's funny you say that because I feel like I was the same way where like if I subscribe to you, like I would click that subscriptions button and I would specifically watch, most of the things I subscribe to for a long, long time, especially in college, throughout college and like maybe a little bit after. And then, as you become an adult and you have a full-time job and like maybe your other hobbies or friends, relationships, whatever it may be, you start having less and less time, and maybe you're also watching something on Netflix or you're listening to a podcast or whatever it may be. So I definitely found myself not really hitting the subscriptions button anymore, or going through and actually unsubscribing from people,
Mm-hmm.
not necessarily because I didn't like their content anymore, but just because I realized that I I think I also started noticing YouTubers, some of their content was getting longer, which then years later, when I got my own ads, I realized it's like, oh, it's because YouTube kind of changed like some things. And like now when a video's over 8 minutes, like you can choose where the ads go, you can choose how many ads, and I have a little bit more flexibility, and you can earn more money that way. And so people who used to maybe make 5 to 10 minute videos, all of a sudden we're making 30 to 45 minute long videos. And sometimes I'll sit and I'll watch most of, or I'll skim it, but like I don't necessarily always want to sit there and do that. So like I'll just stick to the shorter ones, or I'll stick to, like you said, like maybe I subscribe to them, but I really only watch the content that I think I'll like, from what they make. But I was like yourself, I was a diehard, like watch everything they make.
Yeah.
Because like I really want to see what they're talking about or what they're doing next. And now I just don't have that time. And so I find myself sometimes just going on the homepage and seeing what YouTube recommends me, see what, what's this one thing I watched that now it's going to suggest this, and then, go down the YouTube rabbit hole, which, that's something we haven't even talked about yet either, is like,
Yeah.
even 15 so years later, still fall down YouTube rabbit holes.
Oh, all the time. Definitely. I mean, I think 2 nights ago, I was like up until 4 a.m. You don't even want to know. Like, the rabbit hole leads me to the weirdest places. I landed on a video where this woman was talking about how to sell pictures of her feet for profit and how the viewer can do it too. I was considering it. I'm not going to lie. Like, it sounded really lucrative. So,
Yeah, I mean, and that's another thing too, is like I find it so funny that with especially people's attention spans, we would rather watch like 21-minute videos than like one that's just 20 minutes long. Even though it's like the same amount or even longer, sometimes we'd rather do that. Or like the fact that like some people are like, yeah, a 15-minute video? I don't think so. But am I
yeah.
going to binge 3 hours on Netflix? Yes, I am. And I'm like, well, what's the...
Because Netflix doesn't advertise like the time. I mean, it does, but like you can, like, it's not like in the front of the episode when you're clicking on it. I guess I don't think it is. So I feel like it's easier to get like sucked into a hole.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas
True.
like if you don't know this person from Adam and you just see like a video and it says like 17 minutes, you're just like, I don't know if I can commit to that.
Yeah, exactly. It's a commitment. It's like, I don't know
Yeah.
if I can commit to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think, yeah, viewing habits change. And it's something that I think I'm going to talk about on a future episode, but I think it's YouTube and constant, especially comedy content, just on our phone, all day, every day, from Instagram to those who are on TikTok to Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, all the different social medias. I think that it's had an adverse effect on just like movies, just making comedy movies, because
Mm-hmm.
people don't want to pay to go see those at the theater. They're like, well, I'm just watching comedy like on the toilet all day at work, like it's like, or I'm just in between calls and I'm watching comedy videos, or I'm over here and someone sent me this link and I watch that. And so people are just taking in content constantly, especially like listening to podcasts, people driving, like they'll listen to podcasts too. It's just it's not that like I think we're getting so much content from so many different ways that it's just like, it's interesting to see how some people will consume it this way but not this way, or more this way and less this way. It's just YouTube has changed from a place where we used to mainly go for comedy stuff, or mainly went for this. And then now what I've also noticed a growth in is tutorials of various things. It's like a
Mm-hmm.
place where people can go and learn things. fitness, you know, when it comes to exercise, you know, oh, I want to do a 15-minute yoga thing, or um I knew when like YouTube really became a thing, like obviously I enjoyed it, but that it crossed a certain threshold was when years ago, the first time my dad said, "Oh, I was trying to fix something on the fridge, and I looked it up on YouTube, and I found how to fix it." And some guy showed me how to fix it. I'm like, "Oh my god, my dad's using YouTube!"
Yeah. Yeah.
Like this is like he is like you said, your dad was old fashioned. Mine can be old fashioned too. And I'm like, what? Like this isn't just for kids anymore.
It isn't. It's become such a mainstream thing. And I mean, yeah, like I remember when I was a kid, like if I had a question, like it would be like, oh, go look it up in the dictionary. And now it's like, go look it up on YouTube. Like you can really learn everything and anything from YouTube. I definitely utilize that all the time. Whenever I'm building anything, whenever I have any questions about anything, I either like, I think you mentioned it earlier in the episode, but Google it or go to YouTube. And it's just so much more informative. But like I also feel like, am I being lazy by not putting in the effort to look it up? Like it's like a good and bad thing. So I go back and forth, but then I go back to YouTube every time. So
Well, I think one thing that especially when it comes to tutorials and learning things, what it comes back to is, you know, I remember when we learned it as kids that it's like some people want to see it written on the board. Some people want to be told it. Some people want to be shown it, like maybe in front of them. And like, we all learn in different ways that I think
mhm.
YouTube has become a way. And that's why like Google probably snatched them up when they did was, you know, people went from look it up in a dictionary or the book to look it up on Google. And then some people are like, "Oh, well, I don't want to sift through these things and I don't want to read these things and like read, I don't even want to do
Yeah,
that." So like now they just pull up a video and someone tells them and someone
right.
shows them, and it can be various forms of learning. I mean, now what's happened with the pandemic is classes through Zoom.
That's still so insane to me. I don't know what I would be doing if I was in school right now. I mean, I've done so many things on Zoom this year that I never even knew what Zoom was this time last year. So
Oh, I don't
it's
think anyone knew what Zoom was this time last year.
seriously.
Yeah.
And yeah,
Um, so yeah, it's the fact that like it's not just a place for vlogs. It's a place that you can get fitness, beauty advice, lifestyle things. Uh, you know, I look up movie trailers when a new trailer drops, like because let's be honest, even pre-COVID, a lot of us were going to the movies less. And like
yeah,
when we were younger, maybe we went to movies more, and like the trailer or TV commercials were how we knew when new movies were coming. Well, now it's just a YouTube video that's either dropping if you follow a channel like that, or it's dropping on social media and it links you to YouTube. That's how they get, you know, marketing campaigns now for movies and television shows. It's just so many things. And I think that while there are people that, you know, defer to TikTok and Instagram stories for like shorter content, like YouTube is always around for like all realms of it, whether it's shorter stuff or like, oh, I'm gonna watch this like video on how to put together this thing or how to hang a shelf.
yeah, yeah. I lost the instructions to like a piece of furniture when I was moving, and I'm like, I wonder if I put the exact like model type in, if there'd be a video on it, and there was.
Nice. That's was it IKEA? IKEA always are they the ones with
No,
terrible instructions?
it was from Amazon actually. So it was
Oh,
such a random brand. I really didn't think I was gonna find it, and I did.
nice. Yeah.
Yeah,
Um I just it makes me just wonder, because it's taken so many forms in just its first 16 years, that like 16 years from now, like what's it going to be?
gosh,
Because I don't
yeah.
see it going away anytime soon. It's become such a staple for many reasons, that just like what's going to be the next thing, you know?
Yeah. That is something interesting to think about.
Yeah, I have no idea. I mean, that's just like when Facebook first came out, I had no idea that it eventually there'd be like live streaming on there, and there'd be so many groups, and that like businesses would be on there, and it's
Hmm.
like a marketplace. Like I think YouTube will keep changing and adapting as well. I mean, just the fact that like how many businesses now like they have like a Facebook page and like a YouTube page where they're like, this is our company and da, 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 da. It's like what
Yep. Yep.
like it's why but they're not trying to get a social media following, but like they know if someone searches it, they want to be like the results if
Yeah.
they
I
happen
mean,
to search it.
I've definitely worked for companies where I've done that. And I'm just like, yeah, you guys should start a YouTube channel and I'll manage it. And so I've definitely made those like awkward, like commercial things for like pharmacies and stuff like that. So
Oh, so you've done some social media, that's right, you do social media for work, correct?
yeah, I do. I do. Um, it's it's really hard. I didn't realize how hard it was to like do it for something that you're not necessarily like a professional in. Like, you know, like I work in the medical field. I'm not like a professional medical anything. So there's like definitely like laws when it comes to posting. Like I can't make any claims in any like YouTube video or anything that I post, and it's kind of like a there's so many rules. I I like making comedy content a lot better.
I bet. Well, you know, let's be honest, we could talk about YouTube all day. It was a lot of fun being able to just like kind of see uh what it's been like for you, both as a creator and as a viewer. Would you like to again plug your YouTube channel and, you know, say where people could find it and like what kind of stuff's on there now?
Yes. I kind of post whatever I feel like posting whenever I feel like posting it. And you can find me on YouTube. I know it's a great tag, right? You can find me at, I think my URL is youtube.com/makeup by Lolo1. But if you search Lolo's World, I think I should come up. I think there's a few other Lolo's Worlds, but you can also find me on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, all at thelolorez with a Z. And I post all of my videos, everything there, specifically on Instagram more than any other platform. So definitely go find me there. And thank you so much for having me. This was so fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for coming on, and we'll have to have you on again someday. Also, please check out on Entertainment Buffet's YouTube. You just posted a video with us there recently. Do you want to tell people about
Yes.
that?
Oh my gosh. That was, I actually, so we were talking this whole time about how I tried to like rope my friends into making videos with me. And I got my two roommates to do a blind taste test with me. It was very interesting. And yeah, definitely check that out on Entertainment Buffet.
Yeah, definitely. It was fun to watch because I used to see those kind of blind taste tests on like Hell's Kitchen, and
Mhm.
so now it's like, man, if I was doing that, I would be so bad. Like I, I think I would have terrible blind taste test skills. But yeah, thank you so much for coming on, and check out Lauren's social medias as she just plugged before, Lolo Rez and Lolo's World. As always, you can find me at Brandon Prosek on Twitter and Instagram. And please follow, like, subscribe, share, all the things that everyone asks you to do on podcasts for Entertainment Buffet Podcast, as well as just the Entertainment Buffet YouTube channel. We have various creators giving us content like Lauren. Some are comedy based, some are podcasts. We're going to be getting a wide variety of content still going into 2021. So check it out while you can. We would really appreciate the support. Thanks again for coming on. And yeah, please check her out everywhere you can, guys.